Kayla Harrison, 135 pounds. Guys, it's one of the more interesting things about this fight. I mean, they really, these girls deserve a lot of credit. Holly Holm for who she is and what she has done. Kayla Harrison for who she is and what she has done, right? And we've had the argument since 1993. What is a better base, striking or grappling? We've had that argument since 1993. And it looked until about 2015 that we had a very clear answer, grappling. But it's not as clear anymore. Athletes like Jose Aldo make it not as clear. Athletes like Israel Adesanya, athletes like Alex Pereira, athletes like Yuri Prohaska, athletes like Jan Blachowicz, all of a sudden it's not quite as clear of how dominant grappling is. Either way, before you start to look at the historical background and wins going in each column, we can still acknowledge that you're learning a second sport. We can acknowledge that Holly Holm was really great at a sport and then learned another sport and became great at that. We can acknowledge that Kayla Harrison was really great at a sport and then learned another sport and is attempting to be great at this, right? So it's very fascinating. Numbers are so important, though. I mean, my partners over at DraftKings, just by example, there's not a time where they're emotionally going to look at Kayla Harrison and Holly Holm and put an odd, draw a line and let you guys start wagering and let the line move from there. That's not what's going to happen. They're going to have experts that set the line that are purely going to base it off of numbers. They have numerical equations. One thing about this fight is Kayla Harrison will be competing at 135 pounds, which she has never done before. Not just in MMA. She did not meaningfully compete at 135 pounds, even in judo. Now, I'm going to guess, but I must admit to you it's a guess, that at some point in her life she did. And while making that guess, I'm going to also guess that that was around junior high. As far as I go back with Kayla and her weight, is her junior year of high school, where she competed at 145 pounds. I didn't see the competition. I read an interview where she said, the last time I weighed 145 pounds, I was 17 years old and a junior in high school. I'm going to accept that as absolute fact. Now, why does that become interesting? Because Holly Holm has openly said, Holly's great, by the way. Holly really is great. I hope you guys are enjoying Holly, because she's towards the end of her career. You don't know how many times you're going to get Holly. And frankly, there's never been anybody in the sport like her. She is very unique. And Holly Holm has come out and said this is another unique thing that she has added to this, and it's added just the right spice to this match. Instead, if she doesn't make 135, talking about Kayla, I'm not fighting her. I like that. I like that. I mean, the show must go on, all of these different things, but if you got a weight class that they've never done, somebody comes to you and says, hey, will you fight this girl? Sure, what's the weight class? You say the weight class. I didn't get to pick it. You picked it. You know full well she's never made this weight class. You know full well I fight at 145 all the time. I would have picked up the same phone call and I would have said yes to the same opponent at 145. But you didn't do that. You elected to say 35 because you're taking her word that she can do it. Great, I'm going to hold you to that word, including at the weigh-ins one day before bell time. And that's what Holly said. She said it a lot nicer than I just said it, but she said the same words. I think that's an interesting piece. I can't remember a weigh-in that I've ever looked forward to, quite frankly. Can you? Fights that we've seen that have fallen apart at the scale. We found out about them after they fell apart at the scale. We didn't have a build-up. We didn't have a lead-in. Holly's given us a lead-in. Don't come to me with Mr. Surprise Face. Don't come to me acting like I'm ruining the fun. You picked the number. I'd have said yes either way. You picked the number, and you picked the number after talking to her, and you've never done business with her, but you've done a lot with me. So if you think you can trust her, I'll think I can trust her too. But I'm going to hold her to the number that you told me of 135. Okay, it's important that you understand this because when you have somebody like Holly, I apologize, I'm switching over. When you have somebody like Kayla who comes from a background of weighing in, that is such a unique thing to do in life. None of you can relate. None of you have ever been put on a scale before you were allowed to go to work. None of you have ever had a job ever in your life where your ability to go out and earn, your ability to try to earn a paycheck was directly related with what you weighed the day before. Just a really unique thing. Only point that I'm trying to make. Even in sports and hobbies and just for fun, there's only a couple of sports and hobbies and just for fun, let alone professions. Less than 0.1% of all the activities that you do on the face of this earth come with a scale prior to participation. So with that in mind, I would bet very heavily. Talk about my friends over at DraftKings. If they want to put an odd down for will Kayla make weight, I will bet the maximum amount ever they would allow me. They come in, they say, well, Chael, she's never done it before. I will bet the maximum amount because numbers do matter. And the fact that Kayla has never missed weight, regardless what the weight is what I am going to bank on. Well, now I just got a new clue. I just found something out that I had never known before, which is that Kayla is claiming that she has made a test run. And moreover, Kayla is claiming that she's never cut weight before. So when Kayla was in the Olympics at 170 plus pounds and won and brought the gold medal home, brought honor to our country, all of you, and brought the gold medal home, she did not weigh 170 plus pounds. She was in the 160 plus pound range and was just giving up the weight. Taking on girls that were cutting down, maybe they'd get in there at 180 pounds. She was just giving up weight. When she was fighting at 155 pounds, this is all according to Kayla, and this is according to an interview that I read this morning. I did not have this information. When she was fighting in the PFL at 155 pounds, she was not weighing 155 pounds. She was weighing less than 155 pounds, and she was taking on girls that at least had the opportunity to pull down, cut weight, get in the ring closer to 170 pounds. So that was very interesting to me. Right? Having somebody that's never missed weight, having somebody that's got a lifetime in the amateurs and in the pros, and only having success in showing the discipline and doing what they said they were going to do, including pre-contest, which is to beat the scale. My confidence and my assurance to you that Kayla could go out and do just that. It is a very different scenario now that I'm armed with the fact that she wasn't doing it before. She had the bravado and the bravery to just go up. She even said something that just helped to solidify whether she was working or whether she was shooting. She said, I don't think it's a good example. I don't think it's a good example to younger girls to be out there cutting weight. I think you should go out there and compete. Be able to put your energy and your focus pre-match into the match itself as opposed to into the diet and into the scale. I believed her. And there's a story going around that she did a cut weight and a test weight and then had a test recovery and did a test fight. And I don't believe the story. I don't believe the story. Not if it's to be literal. That she literally weighed in at 135 and it was the day before and she literally had a recovery and she literally went out and had a match. And I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Because it'd have to be same for everybody. The opponent would have had to have made the same weight. The opponent would have to have the same recovery. The opponent would have to, and now all of a sudden you're talking about paying people, of which is the last thing that a fighter wants to do in a training scenario. I mean, there's a number of reasons I don't believe it, but I don't believe it. And I think if we were to start to pin that down a little bit, well, I didn't make scratch weight, but I made, plus 12. Well, we're having a very different conversation. And what I thought was never going to be a piece of the story, and what I thought was nothing to do with the story, which was the scale, all of a sudden has my interest fully. And if you are rendered in any possible way, if you are compromised in any possible way, standing opposite Holly Holm, and you think that you have what it takes to beat Holly Holm, and Kayla's very special, by the way. Very, very special girl. If anybody thinks that they can be compromised and still beat Holly Holm, you do not know Holly Holm.